that pressure can bring from raising capital from any investors, but especially from friends and family, is unparalleled. An insane pressure that not many people will ever feel.
Part of me wants to say, wow, physically and emotionally it's been a beating or a drain, but I've always been quite stubborn. I'm going to push myself as far as I can. I'm going to extract value and opportunity from it and learn and grow. If you truly believe in what you're doing and a business that's going to have impact and have growth, like, you want your friends and family to benefit from it. I don't do it for the sake of it. I think that's where a lot of people stumble down. I do it because I have unwavering belief in why I'm here and what I'm here to do. I truly believe that I'm here to create impact.
Welcome everybody to today's episode of Well On Our Way. I'm delighted to be joined today by Orrin Benford, COO of LVL, and just so happens to be my best mate. They say don't go into business with your friends or your family. Well, we've shattered that myth, and today we're going to talk about it. Enjoy the episode. Welcome.
Hey, Gary.
We're going to go deep. We're going to go deep, and we're going to go, hopefully, in a place where we've never gone before in a conversation. So, and we've had 30 plus years of conversation. So tell me, the last 5 years particularly, what they've been like. Sum up the last 5 years of your life in business and personally and everything. What's it been like?
The last 5 years, I can't separate out business life and the last 5 years has just been a life roller coaster. Like, it's been insane. What's 5 years? 5 years takes us back to 2019, pre-COVID. I remember the days of being, I wasn't young, free and single, but I was newly with partner, living a pretty fun, chilled life in the marina of Dubai. Could do whatever I wanted, when I wanted, working for this cool tech startup in Dubai where we just got to go do jet skis at the weekend and
they were good days
and stuff. And then 5 years on, there are 3 tiny kids living in Australia, a company that has grown and somehow got through COVID and everything else since. And physically, emotionally, it's been a ride. Like, part of me wants to say, wow, physically and emotionally, it's been a beating or a drain. But I look back at the last 5 years, like, my phone really helps bringing up memories and stuff like that.
True,
wow. Do you remember when we were building an app from fresh in our kitchens during COVID while we had a baby working from home and we were trying to work out what working from home even looked like?
Yeah.
It's just been insane. It's been a roller coaster. I think the one rule of being on a roller coaster is just never get off. And I'm
certainly not while it's moving anyway.
Yeah, there have been times in the last 5 years where I've contemplated not getting off life, but getting off various elements of life. But yeah, glad we stayed on, and now just in a position in all aspects where things feel really good, things feel aligned, business is growing, family has stopped growing.
For now.
No, family has stopped growing, but they're all doing amazing things, and yeah, it feels good. But it's been an experience. It's been a massive journey of growth.
Can you share a memory from your childhood or an experience perhaps that stuck with you and has shaped not just who you are today, but shaped the person that got through the last 5 years and not just got through it, but did exceptionally well given all of the challenges and circumstances of the last 5 years?
I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but I've always been quite stubborn.
No.
Yep. I know. Shock. And confident of my viewpoint. And when people have said things that can't be done, it's been like a red rag to a bull. It's been like cause for attack. I remember going through school. I hated writing. Like, out of all of our subjects, English was the one I least wanted to attend. I love numbers and everything, and going into uni, it's like, oh, what are we going to do at uni? I had no idea at the time of all the things that you could do or what they meant. I remember sitting in A-level maths, and we were talking about what we were going to do at uni, and a friend, Jim, at the time said, I'm going to do engineering. I thought, what's engineering? It's like maths, but like applied in life. I was like, oh, cool, yeah, that sounds good. And then our maths teacher at the time, we had a bit of a love-hate relationship, Mr. Mellon. He said, Orrin, you'll hate engineering. You won't enjoy it. Do not do it. I know what you're like. And that was it. So, sweet, I'm going to do engineering just to prove you wrong. So I signed up to do, found the best course for me at Bath Uni, engineering, went there, and a couple of days into my engineering degree, I realised I did not enjoy engineering, but I was very stubborn.
Maybe Mr. Mellon was right.
Yeah, he was absolutely spot on, but that was the point. It's like, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah. So I saw it through, but extracted every bit of value from the opportunity of university to get. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do well at it, but I'm going to continue to extract value and opportunity from it, and got really qualified for my football coaching side of things. I socially developed and everything, and build up a good CV to enter the corporate world. And that same attitude kind of stuck with me as I entered the corporate world. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just found the highest paying grad scheme I could find that dealt in numbers, which was finance. Did I want to do finance? No, but someone told me I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. Again, entered the corporate world, got fully qualified, and had a lot of incredible experiences, but learned very quickly the corporate life wasn't for me. But right, what am I going to do? I'm going to see it through. I'm going to push myself as far as I can. I'm going to extract value and opportunity from it and learn and grow. Because then the next thing I'll get closer and closer and closer to where I'm aligned and where it feels good. And that's when I left the corporate world and set up my first company in the UK in the football industry. Again, what I actually set up, look, at the time, I remember plotting it all out. Thought, going to build a growth company, going to do A, B, C, this feels good. And people were coming at me like, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? I'm like, no, but I'll figure it out. I'll go and attack it anyway and come along. And that's the attitude that kind of went through. And it's put me in some interesting positions and situations as we've gone. But that kind of belief and confidence in myself to go there and then extract value and opportunity from each situation, and it will help serve you the next time, has worked out. And every move I've made along the way, whether it from A-level maths to engineering to the corporate world to grassroots entrepreneurialism, each one has moved me closer to something that feels aligned to what I want to do and what I'm good at and what feels great. And that's helped. Just life in general, it all just starts to feel like it's flowing a bit better as you get further on.
So how did you, or when did you develop the ability to convert your stubbornness into value? Because for most people, and you are right, you are stubborn. I have the privilege of having known you for a long time, and that's definitely one of your qualities. But in a good way, right? You absolutely stand up for what you believe in and stand by what you believe in and will not move. But you have a unique ability to translate that stubbornness into value, either for yourself or for others around you, or in most instances both. And not many people can do that. So how and where or when did you develop that ability? Do you recall, or is it just something that has naturally happened over the course of time?
I think it's naturally happened over the course of time. I'll give credit where credit's due. I had a great childhood. Parents did a great job, family did a great job. Grew up in a very, very nice part of England, Bury St Edmunds.
What kind of core values were instilled in you either by your parents or your family or your surroundings that have stuck with you and have enabled you to succeed in the way that you've succeeded in business and life today?
I think you've actually answered the question for me. When we talked about being stubborn, I don't do it for the sake of it. I think that's where a lot of people stumble down. They do it for the sake of it. I do it because I have unwavering belief in why I'm here and what I'm here to do. I truly believe that I'm here to create impact, to really do that centered in a world of gratitude and family. And when you have that unwavering belief in your own individual values, that shows up in everything else. So when I truly believe in something, from an opinion held from data and various sources, I'm not afraid to sit back on it. I'm not going to second guess other people's considerations or opinions and let them hold me back. I'm not going to play small for fear of other people's thoughts, and know that only by me fully expressing myself is it going to allow the other person or people to fully express themselves. And when we get to that point, that's when the magic happens. We're sitting having a great chat with Molly earlier, our HR manager, and that was my exact point to her. It's like, if I ever see or feel you hold back, you're doing a disservice to you, the company, and the person you're talking to. When you remove those considerations and everything, and just so strong belief in what you're here for, that's when the real value comes out. But then also doubling down on that. So whilst I can be stubborn with my own views, by opening up and being transparent and having that integrity, that allows the space for other people to come back to you with other ideas and perspectives. And all of a sudden you can learn and grow together from that. And that's really helped me push on faster and quicker than otherwise. And that's probably why I needed to leave the corporate world. In the corporate world, I did some great things. Like the company I was with was amazing. I had some great businesses to work in. But ultimately, it did feel like while I was there, 90% of the conversations I was having were with people that were sitting back in considerations around feelings and perception and their LinkedIn brand and everything. It's like, I understand why, but you're holding yourself back. You're not going to help yourself. You're not helping the company. We could all do a lot better and create a better world if we didn't do that. I think that's ultimately where it comes from. Like, I'm so grateful for what I have now. I'm so grateful for how I was brought up and what I had, but I know I can have a bigger impact on the world being myself and speaking openly and honestly, and the right people will come along that journey when they do that.
No, 100%. And I think, I know for sure, both myself and the Level team are extremely grateful for the way in which you are transparent, I think is the best word. Transparent with your thinking, with your emotions. You don't hide them, and you don't hide behind them. And I think that's something that we're very fortunate to have developed culturally at Level. Thanks in large part to you, for sure. You mentioned university. You mentioned education. Some entrepreneurs go to university, some don't. I don't think personally there's a right answer. I obviously went to university, but and started my first business there, but would I have done it anyway? Probably. So I don't think necessarily that university is the necessary path, but it was the path that we took. You mentioned you went to Bath in England. How did that experience, that university or educational experience, kind of shape the entrepreneur side of you, or the entrepreneurial side of you? And at that point, did university push you closer to entrepreneurship, or did it at first push you away?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement that there's not a right or wrong answer here. And this is where I sometimes get angry, where I hear entrepreneurs or other people almost saying, don't go to uni. Oh, it's going to hold you back. It's like, it can do, but it doesn't have to. It's how you go and attack it. And if you go and attack it and you want to extract value from it, it's going to serve you. If you go into it and just go through the motions to come out of it with a degree, it's not going to push you any further along. From my side, like, do I use my engineering degree on a day-to-day basis entrepreneurially? No, like I reread my third year project. I don't understand what it even means anymore. It was so, like, I used to be really clever. I haven't got
what happened?
I don't know. I haven't got a clue what was going on there. Imagine if ChatGPT was around back then. That would have been a good project.
Would have been dangerous.
But like, do I use it on a day-to-day basis, like directly? No, but indirectly, like massively. Like, from my side, the logical aspects and the problem solving that teaches you was great. Like, it was hard. Like, my degree was really, really hard. And to get through that, I had to push myself. I had to be able to work under pressure, but not just under pressure in a single space, but under pressure in life. Going through your early 20s, like, life shows up. Like, in a new city with new people, life shows up. Like, side hustles, jobs, thinking about your career and everything like that, while still delivering on a tough degree. Like, every time you push the limits on that side, it kind of raises your bar. So when you come to the next challenge in life, like, you're ready for it. And then when I went to join my corporate career, yeah, I know people are changing it now, but back then, to get onto the kind of program I got onto, you needed a certain level of degree. And I wouldn't have got onto it without it. And it served me because when I was in my assessment centre, I had things to talk about. I wasn't talking about hypotheticals that I read or hypotheticals that I listened to on a podcast or a book. I was talking about things that I've done, that I'd succeeded at or I'd failed at. And it was really, really good. But aside to that, there are probably two things. The uni experience is massive, not just in the degree you do, but the other opportunities that it presents. So I was big on the football side of things, as coaching and socially, and that paved the way massively, like the leadership skills around learning coaching. And my first year at uni, I had snapped my ACL, so I couldn't play. And like, that was torture, but I could coach. So I said to him, look, I'll coach one of the uni sides. And I showed up there as a first year at uni. Like, I'm a young looking guy. Like, I looked very young. And I was coaching like fourth year uni students. And fourth year uni students think they've already made it in life. And there was me, an 18-year-old, trying to tell them what to do. And that was a massive learning curve itself. I knew that I was qualified. I knew I had the experience. But being able to meet people where they're at and look at different personality traits and understand people's mindset, those are unique skills that helped at the time from a football perspective. Then I look at it later on in life. If you're going to go on the entrepreneurial journey, it's great to have a diverse team around you. And one of the areas of diversity is like mixed age bags. And actually, if you're going to start up a company or co-found a company, you're going to deal with people that are younger than you, older than you, your age, and knowing how to attack that head on is like a massive skill. So yeah, from a university standpoint, like, you don't have to do it, but I think you can extract so much value, and I would actually recommend it to people. I think the entrepreneurial journey can start when you're 18, it can start when you're early 20s, but it doesn't have to. A lot of the big companies nowadays are founded by people in their late 30s, early 40s. And my last kind of take on university, I currently live in Melbourne, and my wife is in her first year of university full-time to become a midwife, but she lives at home with me and our kids. And I'm like, you're not getting the uni experience as I know it. I lived away from home and everything. I think it's a cultural thing in Australia compared with the UK, and I would recommend it to anyone. Like, if you're going to do uni, do it as not as far away as you can, but do it away from your hometown. Remove that ability to go home and
that safety net.
That's it. Remove that safety net and put yourself out there. Like, go and attack the risk, and you'll feel the benefit of it.
I think we'll come back to that. Attacking risk has been a theme of the last few years as well. One of the big benefits of university, obviously, is the social side of things and the friends that you make and the people that you meet. And you obviously made a lot of good friends at uni, and recently saw a lot of them at your wedding last year. I don't know if we're allowed to call it a wedding, are we? Gathering ceremony, swearing in. And yeah, the social side is amazing. And like you said, you can start a business before, during, or after university, and but just being exposed to new ways of thinking, new people, new backgrounds, people from different countries, even different parts of the country you're from is an incredible experience. And obviously myself, I met my wife at university, so it was a solid investment in that respect. So yeah, I got at least that out of university. And like I said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend university as a pathway to starting a business, but it definitely is a catalyst or an accelerant, if you will, in terms of you as a person and the way you think and the opportunities that will come your way. So yeah, fascinating time, and we obviously have a lot of young kids between us, 5. You're winning 3-2, or you've won. I think the game is over. So what it's going to look like for them in 15 or so years' time when they think about going to university is something I think a lot about, because how, like you said, with AI and tools like ChatGPT and things like that changing education, even just seeing my eldest son this week from homeschooling because of the floods, how education has changed and that experience, but ultimately the most value that I got from university was meeting people and challenging myself against other people, as opposed to what I actually learned, because I don't feel that, like you've said, you obviously learnt a lot whilst you were there, but you've probably forgotten a lot of it even a year removed from university. So
I think on that one, I think you've nailed it. Uni isn't, it's not like uni and entrepreneurialism. It's as an experience, if you can create a real diversity of experiences before you start your business, you're better set.
Yeah.
Whether that's university, part-time jobs, education, social, all of those experiences will help shape you. I remember hearing a conversation in Australia, some boys thinking about university and what they need to learn, and they were saying, "Oh, you don't need to do that. You'll learn that all from this person." And I'm like, you don't need it, but that person has been building a business in a certain way for 20 years and has not experienced anything else. They know one way of doing things.
Yeah.
And if you're going to limit yourself at 19 to just learn that and not give yourself the opportunity to learn from other people. Like, you hear a lot about teachers and educators, and these are people that couldn't do it themselves or didn't make it, especially in business. I recall my GCSE business studies teacher, Mrs. Collins, like, the stories she told us when we were 15, I still use those in business today. Like, did she ever create a business? I don't think so. I think she was just a pretty cool, out there teacher.
Yeah.
But she taught me some epic things that without, like, I wouldn't be here. And the mixture of her teachings that were completely from the book versus what I learned at university, whereas what I learned in the corporate world versus what I learned when I got down and dirty and did it myself.
Yeah.
It's that diversity of experiences and the diversity of people. Like at uni, I was big on the social side, especially our football team.
Were you?
Like, we were strong.
We'll throw some pictures up on the video version if we can get some.
I wouldn't. We played seriously hard, and I think the biggest lesson from this is never judge a book by its cover. Because if you saw us out, you would think, like typical uni, football team.
Yeah.
Like, use whatever adjectives you want there.
Yeah.
But behind that, you've got like some of the biggest traders in the world, some of like the biggest consultants in London, like directors and actuaries, and like when I talk to my football team about what they're up to and we go skiing together and everything, I'm like blown away by what they're achieving off the back of it. So if you looked at us on a night out or even on the side of a football pitch, you could form an opinion, but actually behind that, there's some incredible things going on. And I think it's the work ethic and, like you say, the social side and the education side, put them all together. It's created magic, and everyone kind of finding their feet in what feels good for them. But yeah, there's some incredible things going on, but don't judge a book by its cover when it comes to people. There's a lot behind the scenes.
I completely agree. I think talking of friendships and kind of the past, we've obviously been friends for a long time. I'd say probably over 30 years now, which is worrying. They say not to go into business with friends or family, and you have a track record of doing that now. So tell me, how have you made it work? What have you learned along the way? Where has it gone wrong? Be honest. And what advice, I guess, would you give to people who are contemplating going into business with friends or family or loved ones? Yeah,
it's a good question. How has it worked? Us is how it's worked, and that works because we are 100% open and honest with each other. I think a lot of people, when they see us maybe externally or sometimes internally, and they see a united front, they think, friends, or they think the same things. The reality is we don't. The reality is we think very differently, and we form different opinions. But the beauty is when we come together, we're not afraid to air those opinions, and we're not afraid to be wrong as well, and understand that only by coming together and talking openly and honestly are we going to get to the best solution or the best pathway for us in the business. So that's when it works, like absolute 100% candor. To not be afraid to say when things are going good and going bad, and everything. That's when it works. When it doesn't work is when you provide considerations or stories for people without giving them the chance themselves. And the main bit that I throw it back to is investment and cap tables. Now, when I created my first company, I needed to raise funds, and I did what everyone does. You go to friends and family. It's what you do. And I had an incredible idea that I was fully 100% belief in, and I pitched it and everything. And I was confident that I did the right things, like investment is at risk, because that's what you have to say, and it's true, and X, Y, and Z. And they came at it and said, we believe in you, like we want to invest, and like on paper, like brilliant, absolute magic. I've gone to the people that I love and care about in my moment of need and passion, and they've met me there, and this is all magic. The challenge happens when you lose sight of the reality of what happened. A business got pitched, an investor invested, and creates stories around personal levels of obligation, of morality, and everything. It's like, I feel like I owe them. I feel like this, and all of a sudden you feel yourself second-guessing decision-making, second-guessing what they're even thinking, and kind of creating a story of how they're interpreting you and your actions around it. And I look back and think, one of the big pitfalls I made in my first company is I didn't pay myself enough. I paid myself to a standard that I lived a very, very basic life, which some people will look at and think, oh, that's a great thing. It's not. Like when I invest in companies, I want to know the people running the company are living a good life. I don't want them overpaid, but I don't want them to be worrying about life. I want them to be worrying about growing the business. But I just felt every time I came to a decision around my pay, thought, oh, they're going to judge me for this. They're going to judge me for, and I created a load of stories and never bothered asking them. And actually, if I had been able to have that transparency that I talk so positively about with friends and family, it could have been different. I could have gone to them and said, this is what I'm thinking. And they might have turned around and said, oh, we forgot we even invested. Or they might have said, oh, we gave you that, but we never expected it back. Or, oh, we gave it to you, but we know it's an investment. We know we might lose it. Or we gave it to you like, we trust your decision. But I didn't give them that chance. And so I started operating out of these stories in my head, and it didn't work. And that was a real struggle. So I think the key is that 100% openness and transparency from day one and continued thereafter. And the understanding that in life, some things work and some things don't work. And as long as you know deep down that you did the right things and you gave it a crack, then it's all good. But if you're not a person that can own that transparency and openness, do not go into business with your friends and family or raise investment from them. If you can and you are, then awesome. It's the best place to be, because if you truly believe in what you're doing and a business that's going to have impact and have growth, like you want your friends and family to benefit from it. So
and be involved.
Like level, like I say, the last 5 years has been a roller coaster, and I'm very open about money and financial well-being. And back in 2020, I was in a tough spot, like financially. Like COVID hit us, our cash runway disappeared. I just had a baby, living in a very expensive country in the world, and things went hard. My family were completely there for me. As a company, as we've got out of that, like I've promised a number of my shares to my family to like repay them. Like they were there for me, they are always there for me. But I want them to feel the positive benefit of Level's growth and be a part of that. So yeah, if you can set the right foundations and maintain them when things are tough, it's the best thing. If you don't, you're just setting yourself up for guilt, obligation, and not a fun ride.
No, and I think, you know, the purpose of this podcast is to talk about building businesses and starting, growing them, but also the impact it has on your health and well-being, and the mental health impact that pressure can bring from raising capital from any investors, but especially from friends and family, is unparalleled, right? It's an insane pressure that not many people will ever feel. And like you say, when you've got an idea that you truly believe in, the people who are most likely to back you in those early days are the people that believe in you, right? So your friends and your family. So it's the natural place to go. But with it comes that insane pressure. So it's a bit of a vicious circle in that respect, or an interesting conundrum, if you will, because you desperately want to pursue this passion or this idea that you have, this project, this business. You need the support. You want to show them that you're in full control and you have all of the answers, when in reality you don't. But you're putting on that front, I guess, in the earlier days, if you will. And I guess that comes back to the transparency point in that, and I think this is something that I've learned through the level journey as well, is that you try and mask everything as positive when the reality is it will never all be positive. And actually your best opportunities or greatest opportunity for development is in the areas where you're not winning, and how you talk to those in that way, as opposed to just trying to shine them up and make them look real nice. So, I think that, again, one of the things that I want us to shed light on through these discussions is the mental and emotional pressure that you find yourself under as an entrepreneur in raising capital from anyone, but particularly friends and family, and how you deal with that, because it's not spoken about much and it's glamorized big time. Like, raising capital is glamorized, and there's really not much glamorous about, not many glamorous things about raising capital. When you say, again, can't afford to feed your family, can't afford to pay nursery or school fees, can't afford to pay this for a long time, because you're not paying yourself, because you're trying to keep the business going, because of the moral obligation you have to people that have invested money in the business that you're trying so hard to build. So it is, it's a weird space. Like I said, there's not many people that operate in that space, but I think for those who are pursuing their ideas and their businesses and raising capital from friends and family, I have a huge amount of respect for. But I look forward to speaking to even more people around this topic, because it is a disproportionate amount of pressure that you put yourself under compared to people who have a job.
You can't teach it. It has to be experienced. And this is where sometimes I run into a mixture of frustration and positive, like, competitive challenge, like going through the investment rounds and even audit. We have a lot of due diligence. It was something before level that I hadn't really experienced in depth, but the due diligence is so intense. It's a battle. It's a challenge, and you'd think, oh, they're just checking your numbers. Oh, they're just checking they understand. Like, no, this is a rigorous. Like, they're looking for anything, not in a harsh way. They're just looking for any holes that you're not aware of, and it feels like you're in a battle. That can't be taught. It can't be taught. It has to be experienced, and you have to be willing to learn, and you have to get it wrong. We've done that a few times, and then learn and grow and take that on the next bit. And where I struggle is maybe when we're doing DD or reporting to a junior analyst that has got a degree, nothing wrong with a degree, got a degree, and is in the corporate world for a couple of years and thinks they know A, B, C, D, E, and they honestly have no idea. And being able to kind of temper yourself in that way and almost empathize with their position, like they're not doing
they're
any
not to know, right? They haven't had the experience.
You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, and kind of empathizing with that and taking them on a positive journey of collaboration together, being strong in that part. But that's really tough. Not many people can handle that. And I on the side, in changing my financial well-being in the last 4 years. I've written a book on it, by the way. Oh, yeah. Drop a link below. Changing
you have
that,
many leather-bound books.
I do have many. I have one single
not
leather-bound book.
Does your house smell of rich mahogany too?
I wish. It smells of IKEA. No, I've got one book. But yeah, in changing my financial well-being, I've invested in the last 3 years in a number of kind of tech and fintech startups. And so I've made the mistake, or not the mistake, I put that in my LinkedIn bio, like angel investor, and everyone sees that and thinks, oh, he must be loaded. He's not loaded. He does like to invest in things he believes in. I put that. So every week I will get pitched a different like investment. And as I'm looking through the 30-page slide deck, the theoretical graph of made-up numbers that I know exactly how to create myself.
Yeah, been there, got that T-shirt.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I'm seeing through all of that and just looking into the heart of it, and like, has this person, they don't have to have already done it, they don't have to have already figured it out, but is this the kind of person that can go through that process? Like, they might have a great idea. Everyone's got a great idea. They might even have a great slide deck or a great graph, but are they the type of person that can go through this next bit mentally? Like, are they open to being wrong? Are they open to being challenged? Are they open to being in the deep end? And that's really what I look for in those, because I know personally from experience, that's what's got us through. Yes, we've had the great idea, and we've learned a lot and backed it up and everything, but it's actually that attitude and that passion through the due diligence phase itself that can't be taught, that is the difference.
So, as I mentioned, the last 5 years, if you go back to 2019, we spent a lot of time in Hong Kong, which was great fun. We spent some time in Singapore in early 2020. That was not so much fun because, maybe you caught COVID there, maybe you didn't, who knows?
Patient zero.
Yeah, maybe. But since then, March 2020, COVID happens for everyone around the world. Our, Levels business is effectively made redundant overnight. We have to deal with layoffs. We have to deal with cash runway running out, raising emergency capital, figuring out. I remember having a call with you. You were in King's College Hospital in Dubai. Having just with Ali, your wife, having just given birth to Beckham, your son, firstborn. And obviously COVID was happening, right? It's March 24th, 2020. Good memory. No one really knows what's going on around the world. We have effectively just lost 3 years of building a business to, it's gone to nothing overnight because no one can go anywhere, no one can do anything, and our business model is absolutely redundant. We had to think on our feet, right? I think that's a common theme over the last 4 or 5 years of just being not adaptable, but incredibly agile, both in our thinking and our movements over that time. And it's been extremely stressful. And I think as I look back, the amount of stress and pressure that we've had to absorb, both of us actually, on behalf of the business, on behalf of the employees, on behalf of the shareholders, on behalf of all stakeholders that we have within the business, is just insane. And it would have beaten most people, I think. Luckily, it didn't beat us. And I think possibly if I look back and reflect as best as I can, it didn't beat us because we had that fortunate dynamic of having each other to have those difficult conversations, to challenge each other, to, express our frustrations to and not have to hide them. I think that was a really important part of the journey. And that stress didn't stop in April 2020. It just increased and increased and increased. And we went through investment round, we went through product, we went through team members, we went through due diligence like I don't think any, pre-Series A startup has ever been through, or Series A startup even, both those rounds. So how have you coped? How have you coped with that stress and that pressure? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you keep yourself smiling? How do you keep yourself happy? How do you keep yourself grounded in amongst the insane amount of pressure that we've had to deal with on a daily basis for the past 3-4 years?
Yeah, I look back and I think, why did we get through it in the first place? Is we were all in. We had an unwavering belief in what we were doing, and we didn't have any other options. We were going to get through this. Like I say, in March, overnight, the business stopped. An office in Hong Kong, an office in Dubai, people employed everywhere, no cash, no app, no longer any paying clients because the old app was invalid.
Yeah.
But us and a team that had an unwavering belief in what we wanted to achieve to help people,
Yeah.
and our own abilities, and we had completely burnt the boats. We were all in, and we didn't see another pathway. It wasn't like, shall we build a new app, or shall we all go and get jobs, or shall we build a new, like, we couldn't. I mean, we were in lockdown. We couldn't do anything anyway.
There were no jobs for people like us.
Lockdown meant lockdown over here. So like we were all in, and we were going to find a way. So when we had calls, we weren't deciding on things against stories around the past and what couldn't be done. We were making really sound, positive choices based on what we believe the future could look like, and that strength. But like you say, it was a very stressful time. It had impacts at home and at work, and at times the stress brought out the best in us, and we did some great things. At times, stress brought out the worst in us. Fortunately, I think us and other people and Graham, when one person, it might have been bringing out the worst in him, the other two were able to pull them back together and everything. So that was good. But from my side personally, I don't think I was as conscious about it back in 2020 as I am now, but prioritizing and being absolutely ruthless with my own well-being and my own development and growth, and being unwavering in what I believe in my values, is where it starts and finishes. If I do that, everything else will take care of itself. I think back in March 2020, I just had a baby, and whilst it felt like...
Well, Ali had just had the baby, just to be clear.
Credit where credit's due, She had the baby.
Yeah.
I was there in the room.
You did your part. Yeah.
I didn't do a lot. It was during COVID, so like the news channels were incredible.
Oh, right.
Time.
Yeah.
Like,
so you watched a lot of BBC World News.
What's going on in New York? This is cool. Keep pushing. Come on. You've got this. But yeah, like... Lost wise. I didn't do a lot.
Yeah.
But at the time, whilst it felt like a lot, I was pretty much in check. Like, actually, the second you have 3 babies, you realise one baby was easy. And it was okay because the baby was feeding naturally, so I didn't have to do that. Yeah, I had to do the odd wake-up call in the middle of the night, but it didn't kill me. But now I'm at a point, I was at the point where I had 3 under 2. It's like, this isn't something that will just hopefully happen. This is something I have to be conscious about.
Yeah.
Like, my sleep has to be protected.
Yeah.
Not because I love sleep. I do, but not just because of that. But if I don't and I'm tired, guess what? I'm crap at work, and I'm not the best dad that I want to be. If I protect my sleep and my energy levels, I give myself a chance. Like, when it comes to exercise and working out, like, you love working out. It's your thing. Yeah. Like, you love it.
I do.
I don't love working out. Again,
really?
Headlines. Like, I don't love working out. I do like running nowadays. Like, that's a new thing. I don't love it, but I see it as crucial to maintaining my health and my energy levels. Why? Because when I do that, I show up as the best person at level. I show up as the best dad, as the best husband, and as the best me. And I just have that unwavering belief in why I'm here. I want to have impact. I want to really do it from a center point of gratitude, and I believe in that. So I'm gonna protect it. And when I moved to, we did face a sticky situation. So when back in 2021, when the 2 new babies were on the way, we're like, right, we need to live near grandparents. Like, we had an incredible nanny in Dubai to support us, and she's so cool. But I didn't want to have 3 kids and a nanny while I've got grandparents and family that would love to be a part of the kids' lives in different parts of the world. So it's like, right, we're going to move to Melbourne at the time with Level. The US was our next line of attack. It's like, okay, I've looked at a map before. That kind of makes sense. I'm like the stepping stone. So let's go and do it. So we moved to Melbourne. Like, right, we've got half the team in Dubai, half the team in Canada. How does this work? Probably going to need some late nights. Yeah, I'm sure I can do that. And I found myself doing late night calls 3 or 4 nights a week. And what I realized very quickly was I'm not my best on the calls because I'm a bit cranky, which means I don't do the best work during the day, which means I'm not the best father or husband, and you get stuck in a
vicious circle.
circle. It's like, right, survive the week to get to the weekend to try and recharge and go again. The reality is, when you got 3 kids, the weekend is not a recharge.
Yeah, there's no
it's
recharge.
the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, going to work is the recharge.
Yeah.
So, right, okay, I'm going to do late night calls, but I'm going to do them on these 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to open up my diary between these times. Guys, knock yourselves out. Like,
Yeah.
I want to chat, but respect my boundaries and I'll respect yours. And let's just be proactive about it. Be conscious around it. Why am I doing this? Because I want to be my best self at work and at home, and you'll get the best out of me. And being really conscious about that. And then thinking, right, well, if I've said yes to a midnight call on a Tuesday, guess what? I need to have a really tough conversation with my wife about what Wednesday mornings looks like for us. Maybe that's the morning of the week where I can sleep to 7 a.m.
Yeah, lion.
The lion.
Yeah.
And she takes care of the kids and everything. But being really proactive with it is where it starts. I mean, recently we introduced the sleep challenge at work, and positively rewarding people that hit a certain sleep threshold and everything. And from month 1, I'm like, free rewards every month. Like, I'm going to hit it. Not because I like rewards, but because I know the importance of it. Because I believe that if I hit that, I'm going to be my best self.
Yeah.
And that's it. So when it comes down to it, like, nutrition is big for me. Like, sleep is big for me. Socializing is big for me. That's where I've let myself down recently. If I'm not out and social, it impacts how I am around everyone else.
Yeah.
And just being really conscious about it. So it really started with habit formation of, like, doing a new thing and sticking until it becomes part of my day, whether that's reading before bed instead of iPad before bed, whether that's cold showers. Still not 100% sold on it all year round.
I just had one because Brian forgot to turn the boilers on this morning. So yeah, that was a very quick cold shower. Yeah, thanks, Brian.
But like things like that, create those habits, and now that's like it's my daily thing. Like, I go like here in Dubai this week, and it was a rough journey getting here. Like, it was a long, rough journey, especially with a 4-year-old with me. But 2 days in, I'm actually fine. I'm feeling awesome. That wouldn't have happened 4 or 5 years ago. I'd probably be still reeling from the flight emotionally and physically, but I'm not, because my body's ready to bounce back, because underneath it all, I have like a foundation of health from all the various things that I'm doing, and I'm conscious about them. I know the importance of working with a coach. I know the importance of like nutrition. I know the importance of challenging myself regularly and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. When you're conscious about it and you make that who you are, all of the external challenges can come at you, and they will. Yeah. But you're ready for them. I remember we had a leadership session a year ago, and we went round the room, and I think to start off with it, when we were checking in, we'd say like, how's life showing up for you right now? And I think I was like 4th or 5th, and everyone kind of had a massive life thing going on. We all have life things going on, whether it's relationships, whether it's kids, whether it's parents and sickness. And it got to me, and I was like, pretty good. Moved to Australia, wife, 3 kids, kind of found my flow. Here in Dubai, business is cracking, like things are good. That was tempting fate a little bit. Like, give it 4 weeks and life came at me hard. Like June last year there was a lot going on, and there still is a lot going on. But underneath it, physically, emotionally, mentally, I was there and ready for it. It doesn't make it easy, but it means you can push through and still get something out of the journey.
I think you have to have, though, you've used the word like ruthless or ruthlessness in terms of protecting your well-being or prioritizing your well-being, and I think that I personally think you have to have that set of non-negotiables that work for you. You've mentioned that sleep and nutrition and reading or kind of continued education are yours. You're absolutely spot on. For me, exercise is one of mine, and I think in the past, and I've spoken about this before, it used to be the highest intensity of workouts that I would only be satisfied with. But now it's just movement, like any kind of movement, just outside of doing what I've been doing all day, working, thinking, on calls, like so many calls still every day, and meetings. So just movement and that kind of detachment of your almost like the disconnect of your brain for a little while, to allow it to just almost automatically refresh and reset which is why it's so important for me. And I think that everybody is different, and there isn't one rule that everyone must follow, particularly for building a business. But I think the rule you must follow, that said, is having those non-negotiables that work for you, whether that's time with your kids, time with your wife or your partner, exercise, walking, fresh air, ice bath, whatever it might be. The danger is you try and make that list too long, right? And you say, all right, I've got to get up and have an ice bath at 5 o'clock, and I've got to read a book before 6 a.m. and then I've got to work out and I've got to run 10K. You just can't. Like, what I try and do is make, box off at least 45 minutes, preferably an hour, but minimum 45 minutes a day for exercise or one of the non-negotiables. And increasingly that has also led to thinking about recovery better. And I think the sleep challenge that we've introduced at Level, not just the challenge, but also, again, culturally, how you have, since moving to Australia, had to ruthlessly prioritize sleep. That travels, right, throughout the business, and everybody should follow suit, because if you don't recover and prepare your mind and your body for the next day, then you're only going to be a percentage of your best self. And I think that's, as I've gone from being, not really truly understanding or believing in the power of sleep to a complete convert, absolute polar opposite now, we're already seeing as a business the benefits of more people prioritizing their sleep and getting more and better quality sleep on a regular basis. Like, it's arguably the only free resource we have that most people are underutilizing. And I think it's great that we're able to speak about it openly, but also culturally embed that in Level, and hopefully others will follow suit. We've talked about how you've coped with the stress and the challenges over the last kind of 3, 4, 5 years, mostly kind of emotionally and mentally. You've said you got into running. Why running?
Because someone told me not to do it.
Oh, shock.
Yeah.
Who have we got to thank this time?
Well, they didn't tell me not to do it. So my older brother recently did. He's completed it. He wanted to do the alphabet of marathons, so a different marathon start like with each letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Like London, I guess he did for L.
Yeah.
He didn't do D for Dubai. He did something else, but Q for Quebec. And
you did say earlier you weren't a big fan of English, so you might have struggled with this particular marathon. So.
And I remember possibly alcohol-induced having a conversation with him and said, I'll do one with you. And he said, okay, cool. I want to do one in Uganda. Sweet. Sounds good. Forgot that I had kids and responsibility and everything. I'll do it. I'll sign up to it and we'll figure the rest out later. So signed up to it and thought, how hard is it to train for a marathon? Ignored the fact for the last 15 years I've just been plagued with hamstrings, calves, knees that don't work.
Glass legs, basically.
It's running a marathon. Like, anyone can do this, right?
Wrong.
It's actually really hard. And I didn't just think, right, I'm going to run a marathon. He recommended this book, and it's actually a great training book. But you get to pick like what time you want to do. And he told me what time he was aiming for. Like, right, we'll take 20 minutes off that. See if we can not just do it, but let's beat him. And I trained hard. I trained too hard, too fast. And I can't remember what happened first. Either the marathon got cancelled or my hamstring went. But that marathon went out the window. But in that process, I kind of fell in love with running. And you mentioned when you talk about doing exercise, it gives you a chance to disconnect. That's what I get when I go running. I think there are two levels to it. The first one is I manage to disconnect. The second part of it is if I give myself enough time, I actually then go and solve the biggest problems when I'm out running and come up with the best ideas. And that's what it really does serve me. So when I think about, shall I go out running, I'm not thinking about, shall I go out and like do exercise? I'm thinking, does my brain need a break? Have I got a big problem that I need to solve? Is there like something internally that I need to discuss? Do I need to become clear on something? Has someone just really pissed me off and I need to offload? I think in the past, in that situation, I would have found a person to offload and be toxic on. Now I don't understand. Actually, I just need a chance to understand and process it. And the best way for me is going out for a run. And 9 times out of 10, I'll I'll come back and the first thing I'll do is ignore the family to grab my phone to get my notes and send an email to myself, say, duh, 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 duh. So I know the next day I'll come back and I've got the answers already there. And yeah, it's really cool. And it still does, it helps me from a competitive standpoint, like put pressure on myself to beat times and everything else like that. I've not lost that in me, but more the physical side is great, but it's more the mental side that I get from it now that I enjoy.
Yeah, I look forward to either pulling my calf or hamstring and trying to beat your recent
You're
new
not going to.
PB. Yeah, it's that competitive spirit will never die in either of us.
No.
We've talked a little bit about other halves and relationships, and obviously in the last 5 years, not only have you had 3 kids, but you got married. Once in Australia, and then second ceremony, and you haven't been married twice
to the
same person. Yeah, just
yeah.
for clarity. So yeah, we'll give a shout out to Ali on your side and Michelle on mine for being there over the last 5 years and being part of the journey. And how has that journey impacted the trajectory of your relationship with Ali?
I think it's helped it. I think had Ali and I met when we were 18, we're like, there's a bit of an age gap.
Yeah, that would have been awkward.
We couldn't have both been 18, but maybe when she was 18 and I was as close to 18 as I could be, it would have been different. I've grown up a lot in the last kind of 10 years, and I think when we met, we were at a point mentally and growth-wise where we were on the same trajectory. We had the same belief system. We wanted the same things in life. So then when we've gone and attacked it, all there's been there is support and encouragement. Yeah, there have been breakdowns along the way. Like, we're only human and we can both be emotional and stuff. But the value system that we have and the understanding of what we're both here for, and the understanding and being the best cheerleader for each other has really helped. Over the last 6 years, level has been intense. A lot of the time positive intensity, some of the time not, but she's believed in me and believed in what we're trying to achieve, and therefore always supported it. And sometimes that's been just a bit of a cheerleader. Sometimes get me involved in the business if you need me. Sometimes it's been the shoulder to cry on, or the person to talk to when Slack or Zoom just wasn't what I needed. But she was also there, but also with the understanding that I very much believe it's a two-way thing. She really wanted to be a mum, and she wanted to be all in and love that. And she's done that and done an incredible job. And whatever she wants to do, I will support 100% too. So when she's got the chance in the last year to go back to uni, she found a passion to become a midwife and everything. It's right, I'm going to fully get behind that because I know the impact she's going to have on the world and what that's going to do and what that shows for our kids. We have that for each other. It's that values and everything. So yeah, she's been massively important on that journey, and it's worked, but it's only worked because of where we were both at in life when we met. When we did actually meet, we both, on top of our other work and businesses, had a side hustle that we did separately, and then we combined it for a year. Turns out we don't work very well together in business. Why? Because I have my ways of doing things and I think I'm right, and she is a very creative person in a different way, and it wasn't good for our relationship because I was working full time with Level, and then I would get home and then we would be working full time on this side hustle, and we were doing some awesome things. We enjoyed it and we had some incredible experiences from it, but ultimately it wasn't good for our relationship. I think the telling point was a year into that, maybe a bit more than a year, but let's say a year into that, we did some work. We weren't afraid to talk and get help and work with a coach and look at it, and came out of that and said, our relationship is more important than this business. Let's change it. Yes, it's making us money. Yes, it's doing these things, but what's more important? And we agreed to take a step back from it and change that dynamic. So I think 5 or 10 years earlier, we wouldn't have done that. We weren't at that maturity point. But where we got to is like we could actually like address the fact that we talked about friends and family in business. Like me and you work great together. Me and my wife didn't work great together. That's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is.
Different people.
So let's acknowledge it and then work accordingly. And it turns out we're brilliant at being each other's cheerleader when we're doing our own separate thing. Yeah. Less so together. And maybe that will change. Maybe in 10 years' time we'll have grown up a little bit more. Yeah. And we're actually brilliant at it. Who knows? So I think it's that maturity, not afraid to acknowledge what is and shout for help if needed.
It's a similar theme, right, as what we've been talking about throughout today's discussion around kind of openness and transparency and being comfortable with just talking openly and honestly and not having to create stories, so to speak. And, Michelle has worked in the business with me. We've worked together in the previous business as well. And it's hard, and whilst it was, I wouldn't say it was a failure. I think it doesn't give you the space to just be a couple. Yeah. You almost lose the relationship aspect because business never stops, whether you like it or not. There's always Slack messages to reply to, emails to reply to, LinkedIn messages or whatever to reply to, and you're always doing it. And you have to really train yourself to disconnect and separate work and from home life and give yourself that time to nurture the relationship, because you have to. And if you don't, it ultimately suffers. And I think I'm definitely guilty of that over the last 5 years of hyper investing in the business and then being fried, almost to the point of burnout, which is kind of ironic because that's why I started Level in the first place, to avoid exactly that. But I'm taking someone who's not got any energy left physically, emotionally, spiritually or anything, and taking that, and I'm not even taking it home because I'm already home. We're working from home, right? The last 3-4 years, I go out of the office door into the living room or the kitchen and I'm drained, and that's not good. That's not healthy. And I don't think I appreciated until probably in the last 12 months how much of an impact that had on our relationship, but not on purpose, right? Completely, not that I was unaware to it. I was in a mode that was just, let's keep the business going. Let's not only make it survive, but let's make it thrive. But in the process, there are sacrifices or, I don't want to call it collateral damage, but, you can only invest so much of your time and energy, and once it's gone for the day, right? Or for the week. And like you said, throw in that extra layer of kids, particularly newborns or, infants that are not sleeping. And, I think that this is something I spoke about with Scott Armstrong from Mental on one of the other podcasts, is that the impact of sleep and the impact of kids and the impact of business on your marriage cannot be underestimated, but particularly for people who are growing a business, who have young kids, whose sleep is being disrupted, bringing your best self to work and giving your best self to your partner is literally impossible. And, I think that's something that, again, I'm now fortunate that I'm at a point where I can talk openly about it because I realize it, but I reckon a lot of people don't ever realize it. Just how they're autopiloting through work or building businesses. But it's so important that you stop and realize the impact of you building your venture, whatever that might be, at whatever stage you might be at, and the pressures from a relationship side or being a parent as well. And they're huge. Those pressures are huge, and we shouldn't I don't think we should gloss over them.
No. Well, you talk to any new parents with young kids, and you will feel very, very quickly people will struggle with the kids to maintain the relationship dynamic as well, or not maintain, but have a thriving relationship dynamic. Yeah. Chucking a business on top of that, and it's just supercharged. Yeah. And it's something, again, it comes back to that consciousness. Like, you're not going to get it right every time. Yeah. But don't just think that it's going to happen on autopilot. It won't. You have to make positive choices around it and understand that, hey, this is a challenge. This isn't going to be easy, and we're going to have a strategy for it. And whilst you don't want to turn your relationship into a business strategy, it's like no, let's commit to an agenda. Let's commit to doing X things per week or per month, and date nights and holidays without the kids. If you can find a babysitter that will take those 3 kids, that's
When's
not happening.
that? 2029.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
But be really proactive with it. Like you don't leave the business to chance. So why would you leave something more important to chance? Just don't do it.
No, I completely agree. Let's talk a little bit. We talked about challenges. Except that there's been so many of them. Can you pick out a moment in time in the last 5 years from a business perspective that has really given you immense joy or pride or satisfaction?
Getting through. I don't know. I feel like we've actually had a lot of massive success, especially in the last couple of years with what we've achieved. And whilst we've tried, we've not given ourselves, like, it's not anyone else's fault, we've not given ourselves the chance to step back and really say, yeah, we did it. Like, we've not taken ourselves out for that steak dinner yet to celebrate Series 8. We should do that. Yeah. And I think that's, again, something that we need to be more conscious of and more proactive. I think we talked about it already. March 2020 was a challenge for everyone around the world. Yeah. Different people in different countries had different support and everything, especially if you had a job or whatever. Like, we honestly had nothing. People talked about, businesses pivoted during COVID. We didn't pivot. Like, you couldn't tweak what we were doing. It was a complete rebuild. It wasn't a rebuild from a solid brand. Like, we hadn't reached the point where we had that brand affinity yet. It wasn't a rebuild from a massive cash runway and strong investor backing. Yeah. It was a build from nothing. At a point where we were all in our kitchens, we didn't know what was going on. A lot of us, because we're in Dubai, our families were in different countries. Yeah. So one, we didn't have the support, the emotional support of them. And two, we were worried about them. Offices and leases in 2 different markets, employees that we needed to honor financially and emotionally through this period and build from that. And you touched upon it, like when Becca, my son, was born, we brought him home after 2 days and he had to be rushed back to hospital and was in intensive care for like 10 days. Whilst he was in there, I remember being downstairs in an absolutely empty hospital, taking phone calls with you and Dilesh about what are we going to do next? Yeah. And knowing, like, if you had told me then, what you're going to do is you're going to build this app from scratch using off-the-shelf things. You're going to do some things and fail at some things. You're going to do some things and they're going to work. You're going to try and raise some investment and fail. You're going to try and raise some investment and get backing from probably the best backer you could ever get in the UAE. And 4 years on, you're going to be in this position with these members, these clients, having this impact, but like having the foundations to have like an enormous impact. I wouldn't have believed you. Right then I thought, well, maybe we'll be able to fudge something together to do a few things and we'll find a way to do something. But to have gone that far is incredible. And not just to have done it, but to have done it and have some fun times. Like we did, my wife is a yoga teacher as well. I remember she did a yoga session with Michael Owen on the Level platform. Back, like 2020 was a very strange very strange time for all of us. Like, okay, we've had a lot of fun along the way. Like we built this place. Like this place is incredible, and we built that.
This place being Level Downtown, for those that are listening. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't have any degrees in building, like, well-being.
I don't have an engineering degree, you're all right, yeah.
I remember when I came up with the idea for the Smart Studio, when we were sitting in the Rove Hotel, and I'm going to take all credit for it. But, like, we didn't know how to do this, but we found a way to do it, and that's incredible. I think I had a meeting with one of our largest shareholders yesterday, and he was saying, like, I bet you look back at the last 6 years with fond memories. Like, I do, but I think I need to force myself to do it more because there have been so many good things. I think in 5-10 years' time, we're going to look back with real fond memories. And not just for me and for Level, I think I'm really big on family and the impact I can have on my kids specifically. And a moment hit home a couple of months ago when I was playing with Beckham and he was playing like kids play like shops or whatever. Yeah. And It's like, oh, what are you doing? He was carrying around his like 3-year-old laptop. He's like, I'm just going to work to do some emails. And the way he said it made the world of work sound so rubbish. I thought, that's a learned behavior. He didn't watch that on Bluey.
No.
They didn't teach him that at Kinder.
Yeah.
His mum doesn't do emails.
Yeah.
He's learned that from me.
Yeah.
That's the impact my actions can have. And it was at that moment I thought, I need to be more conscious about this. I need to be more conscious about extracting the joy from work and showcasing that joy from work, because there's enough there, but it can be very easy in the stress and in the constant pressure to kind of get dumbed down, like, we've got to do this thing. It's like, no, change that, reframe that. I get to do this thing because we have created this. We're prepping for our Series B next year. So I could look at that as, wow, that's going to be a slog. Wow, the deed is. No, it's like, wow, what an opportunity we have created.
Yeah.
You only get to Series B if you're impacting lives.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what have we done? And that's why I've brought him out this week with us. It's like, he needs to see what work can look like.
It's more than just emails.
He needs to come to Level Downtown and meet the people and get the high five from Brian when he walks in and come in the Smart Studio and do a workout with the team and everything. Like, remember when I grew up, when we were thinking about jobs in the future, emails wasn't a thing.
No, yeah.
Like, we didn't even have PCs until we were teenagers.
I remember my dad used to do paperwork, he used to call it.
Yeah, your dad would do paperwork and sell furniture, and my dad was a policeman, and we had a very different view of what work looked like then. But we learned that from them and those discussions. Like, I have an obligation to show him the possibilities that it can be, not because I want him to go into finance or be an entrepreneur or be in work. I don't want any of that. I just wanted to show him that whatever you choose to do, you can do it, and you can extract joy and fun from it. And work, it's not like life is family epic, friends epic, like holidays epic. Work is the means to the end. It's almost not the opposite, but it's a key part of that. Like, your work life and your family life and your way of living are intrinsically linked. So really value that and be proactive with it. And if you love the corporate world and the office job, make that part of your life that you embrace and everything. And if you don't, do something about it. And COVID has done wonders for that in hybrid working, work from home and everything. I've got strong views on where that does and doesn't work, but the strongest view of what works for me in my life. And like, we're not going to be around forever, and it's not okay to just say, like, let a year or 2 years go by if it's not working for you on a life level, and taking real ownership of that, and like, understanding that making changes is risky, but it's worth the risk. And being, again, comes back to just being consciousness and why you're here and the values you hold. So, and people, like, I am in the blessed position where people do come to me for advice, whether that's workers or people starting up businesses. And my main bit is to go back to your personal values and what you're here for. And if you haven't done work on that, the rest is all irrelevant. Like, I'm not going to bother talking to you about you and your relationship or you and your career trajectory and everything, because none of it's going to align, because you don't know what alignment is because you haven't done that self-discovery work. So I think that's crucial. And
so I guess finally, last question, compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever point in the past you want to kind of peg this to, how has your definition of success and happiness changed?
Massively. Like I said, when I joined the corporate career, the business I chose to join was the highest paying grad scheme in the UK. That was what success looked like for me. Financially, I remember when we were younger at one of our end of season football presentations, we had a very famous Ipswich Town football legend came to do our awards, and he did a bit of a Q&A. And my first question was, what do you get paid? Like, financial success was the big thing. Now, I don't devalue it, but it's not a means to an end, but the financial side is just one part of the whole thing that needs to work together. And for me, it's a lifestyle. It's about growth, but it's really a measure of like the impact I'm having on the world. So when I look at success, I'm looking at, how do I feel when I get up each day? what am I doing to the world? What am I doing like to my kids on that level? That's where I benchmark it. Now, yes, finances are massive because they can influence your lifestyle, and actually, guess what? You can do a lot more and have a bigger impact on the world if your finances are in good shape. Yeah. So I look at it, the financial side of success that used to be the main part is now a key part, but a key part of like a bigger picture. So yeah, success for me now is like the level of impact I'm having on the world and the joy that I'm extracting from it in achieving it. And that's not something you can measure on a balance sheet. It's not something I can put on my next performance review, or it is. I talk about it. We do a pulse check every week, and the first question is, out of 5, like, how are you feeling towards work? And I put a number. You probably hate it because you have to read it. I'll put a narrative, like, I'm a 4 out of 5 today. Yeah. Don't guess at what that means. I'm going to tell you what 4 out of 5. Yeah. 4 out of 5 means this feels great. Like, this feels good. This person inspires me. This is a challenge that's a positive challenge. And this is where I'm struggling. And it's that feeling, that sentiment that you bring to it that is where success lies. And I think going to work on yourself from a personal development standpoint is massive to help you on that journey, really, really help you figure out what values and what success looks like for you. I did a course a couple of months ago, and living in Australia is incredible. Lifestyle is incredible, but it is tough. I'm so far away from not just work, even further away from family, all in the UK. And like I realized I was carrying a level of guilt around bringing my son and my kids to Australia and having them so far away from their family in the UK. Yeah. And I thought, right, I need to attack that. I can't live life in a position of guilt. And I looked at what that was, and I realized after doing that work, I realized that I was calling it guilt, but that pain in my chest, but it wasn't guilt. That's a feeling of love. That's a feeling of when you're truly connected to your family, of the want to be near them and everything, and miss them. Yeah. And that's a good feeling. Yeah. And now I can look at that as good and think, right, well, instead of sitting here and feeling sorry for myself about that I don't get to see my family much, what can I do about it? So, right, well, I can choose to see them more. I can choose to connect more. I'm the one that chose to call them once a week. Yeah. So I can choose to call them every day. Yeah. I'm the one that chose that we can only go to the UK maybe every 2 years. Now I can choose, we can go and see them whenever we want. And so this week I brought my son out. The next thing that I did was called my mum and said, hey, I'm bringing Beckham to Dubai for a week. What are you doing? Yeah. Come and meet us halfway. So I get to see my mum for a week. My son's going to be there and have that great time, have a great impact on the business. And guess what? When I do that, I show up and do my best work because the rest of the life is aligned and
taken care of. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, thank you. Thank you for probably the deepest 90-minute discussion we've ever had. We've spent lots of 90 minutes together because we've obviously played football more times than we remember, and we've talked about our upbringing, and a big part of that is our parents who gave us an incredible first 18 years of our lives in Bury St Edmunds, but a big part of that upbringing was football, and I think it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge the impact that had in our lives. And the managers, Mike, Chris, John, Colin before that, and all of our teammates, and how that has shaped you, how that shaped me, and how that shaped our future. I think that upbringing is something that we're incredibly privileged to have had, but we didn't take it for granted, and we put it to good use. And you've talked throughout today around your values and your impact, and I'm extremely grateful for the impact that you've had, for the risk that you took in coming to Dubai, first in 2017 and then back in 2018, and decided to move here and join the business. And we've talked about not doing business with friends, and we kind of shot that preconception down. We shattered it, and I'm proud to say that we've done it with smiles on our face, despite the adversity that we have faced in both, pandemics and fundraising and just growing a business. 'Cause growing a business is hard, and like I said, in that time, having kids and building on our marriages, and it really has been an honor and a privilege to build a business with, a best mate. And I'm grateful for that. And I may not have said it to you before, but I'm saying it now on camera in front of everybody. So it's now a fact. And yeah, it takes a special person to take the risks that you have and do the things that you've done, in the last 4 or 5 years that we have had as a business, and the world events that have happened. And I am sure that it will shape the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and whatever that may bring for Level and whatever that may bring for us and individually, I think we'll attack it with the same values, the same competitive spirit, but most importantly, hopefully a smile on our face and challenge us to overcome those new experiences whilst staying very good friends. So, Orrin, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you too.
So thank you for listening or watching today's episode of Well On Our Way. If you'd like to learn more about Orrin, please connect with him on LinkedIn. He's also an author and written an incredible book, The Book About Money on Financial Wellbeing. So please check that out on Amazon. I hope you enjoyed the show and stay tuned for more to come.